That's what brings joy. I think that was one of the questions that I remember reading about what brings me joy. Seeing somebody else progress.
We're going to talk. I'm excited.
Talk for real.
Yes, we're going to do this for real. So I am really excited to have you on my podcast. This is kind of a new venture for me, and I love adventures. So what do you think a Sendy Mom is?
So when I said the title to my son Grant, whom you know, he's like, "Oh, that's funny, Mom." It's like, "What?" Because he's like, "I know what Sendy means." Because Sister, like Becky told me, and he was so impressed that I knew the word. But that's somebody that just goes for it, that has no fear, and or if he has, even with fears, he has the courage to go for it. So.
That's right. It's like, it's really about courage and about like fear, that we all experience fear, and we're all very normal people, and there are things that are scary for us to do, but sometimes you just have to say, okay, I'm going to go for it. I'm just going to send it. And it's about it having a community too, that of all these people that are telling you, come on, just send it. You can do this. Right. So that's great. So I'm glad you kind of get that. And why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, about your family, and about, I don't know, where you come from, all of that.
So I grew up in Guatemala.
Okay.
I am the fifth of 10 children. And then I came to the U.S. to study and ended up deciding to stay.
And what were you studying what did you want to study?
When I came, I was studying computer science, electrical engineering, because I had done a little bit of that growing up. I went to an IB program in Guatemala in a private school, and they really pushed for that class to start in Guatemala, like the programming and stuff. So
that's interesting. I didn't know that. I thought you wanted to be a doctor. I remember you telling me that before.
Yeah. So. Yeah. High school, I did do I learned all kinds of languages like COBOL, BASIC, all that stuff, just as part of my education in high school. Okay. But then I thought I'm going to come to college and then do like a pre-med and a major in computer science.
I see. Okay, so that was the plan, was to kind of get that first degree and then go on.
Yeah, because pre-med is not a major.
True.
There's a bunch of classes on the side.
Got it.
And then when I chose to get married, I thought I need to continue my education, but I am not going to continue to do pre-med. Okay. I mean, computer science, because you can't keep up unless you're in the workforce.
Okay.
With technology.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I think it would be very difficult to get I've always thought it was difficult to get a degree in computer science because it's evolving all the time. Right. So yeah, although I think it's important to go ahead and to get a degree just to be educated. Right. So whatever you're interested in. So
yeah, so I changed it and I thought I'm just going to do pre-med and do some other things, not knowing exactly. And what I decided to do when I found out that you couldn't do medical school part-time, because I was going to college part-time after I got married. And I thought, I can't go to school full-time for 10 years and miss my children's lives.
Yeah.
So I decided to go for psychology and family science, because that still provides the healing desire that I was hoping to provide to the world. So,
yeah, and isn't that interesting? Because we have this time in our lives where we start to understand what our life purpose is. And so it's interesting that you found that so early. I think it takes people a long time to figure out kind of what their life purpose is, but it sounds to me like you understood that I have this desire to heal people and help people to heal.
Yeah, and I thought that's why I wanted to go to medical school. So I was able to switch. And by then I had 4 children. So it was 1995. By the time I realized I'm not doing medical school, this is it. I need to change.
How did you feel about that?
It was difficult because I thought it would be really fun to be a medical doctor. But the funny thing is that I wanted to be a medical doctor so that I could have the notoriety to use natural medicine. So in reality, I don't know that I ever believed in allopathic medicine, just regular medicine. But I just wanted to have the credentials to say, hey, you've got this major thing going on. Have you looked into this behavior or this nutritional thing? And so
Okay.
So it would have been a kind of a waste of 10 years of my life.
Just to have the authority.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I
Yeah.
get that.
That's easy to see now.
Yeah.
But it was
sure.
good to go through and learn how machines think, for example, with the computer
Okay.
science.
Sure.
I think I got as far as C
Okay.
in 1987. I think that's the newest thing that they had
Okay.
when I went to college in Idaho.
Okay.
And, but it helped my mind think
Mhm.
in zeros and ones and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So the
Yeah.
logic models and the flow charts
Yeah.
and then when I'm going through the medicine, medicine, but the biology and all those things also help me think how the natural world is formed.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
now looking back, I'm thinking, oh, I got a little bit of science, I got a little bit of technology.
Yeah, and you've definitely evolved that in your life, and you've really taken that into your life too. And it's interesting how, you know, as you go through life, you notice certain themes and things that are kind of at your core and that are very important to you. So it sounds to me like it's very important to you about natural healing is kind of an important part of your background, and just healing in general.
Yeah. My family comes from like 3 generations of natural healers.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
Okay.
my great grandfather was a famous healer
Okay.
in Guatemala.
All right.
He was a Spaniard,
Mhm.
but he of course lived in Guatemala. So he mingled with everybody there,
Uh-huh.
and people would come from all over the place to come visit him. His name was Amadeo Roca.
Okay.
And then he taught his daughter, who would have been my dad's mother, that similar thing. So the two of them had a practice of sorts. And they did stitching and bone setting and stuff like that too. It wasn't
Okay.
just herbs and
surgery
natural
as
medicine.
well. Okay.
Yeah, like
Mhm.
minor surgeries.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But then they did a lot of talk therapy also. Because it was more a holistic approach. You know, what's wrong with your marriage? You know, what maybe this is what's happening. It's helping. It's getting your body to be sick. You know, that's kind of what I never met my great grandfather. I met my grandmother, but then my dad's cousin went to medical school.
Okay.
And did a full-on degree with surgery and everything, and used natural medicine. And I think that's what I was thinking. I want to be like Tio Juanito, because he knew how to heal things.
Okay. Yeah.
And not all doctors can heal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's kind of what I wanted.
So have you been able to do some of that? Do you feel like you've learned some techniques, or do you feel like you have gifts for healing medically, I mean, you went into psychology, so have you focused more on the mental healing of people?
So I do think that we are 3-dimensional beings.
Mm-hmm.
We have a body, we have a mind, we have a spirit, and you cannot heal one without healing the other. Like there's more and more evidence that people that have some illnesses, they could be connected to emotional things. Yeah. Which emotions come from relationships. Yeah. So that's a triad that I think is really useful. And I have done a couple of trainings, you know, on things like how to use essential oils, how to use herbs. And also I'm a cognitive behavioral coach. Okay. And so as it sounds, you know, it's behavioral. Okay. So cognitive, just recognizing in your mind, you know, what's going on. Then the behavioral part is like, okay, so what kinds of things do you need to change in your life in order to be healthier? Okay. But the thing about behavior is that everything is behavior, even medicine. Yeah. Because even allopathic medicine, they give you a medicine for something that you have to take it. Right. Yeah. Or you have to stop smoking, or you have to do whatever you have to do. There's a behavior attached to.
Interesting.
Changing.
Yeah. No, and that's absolutely true. I think there's a whole a holistic approach. Sometimes you can solve many problems by just changing one thing, and a lot of times it happens in your mind, doesn't it?
Yes, it starts there.
Yeah. So do you have private clients, or how did you get started with this? Did you just start researching it? I guess you did do some school. Yeah. But it took you kind of a long time to do the school, but you didn't give up. And that's the thing that kind of makes you Sendy, you know, like sometimes, you know, you're like, okay, it's too late. I am, you know, I don't know how old you are. I'm not going to say it, but I'm over 50 and, it's too late for me. I can't, but you kept going. Like, have you graduated yet?
So I graduated in this April.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And I started my master's degree on Tuesday.
You did, just barely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was interesting because I wasn't in a degree so that I could go get a job or I could get a specific skill.
Right.
I believe in Revelation, and there's something in my life called a patriarchal blessing. Okay. And in there, it talks about finishing my education. Mm-hmm. So I can be a comfort and a help to my own family. And I'd be able to support myself.
Yeah.
So to support myself would be like, oh, I have to get a career and I got to make money, but I haven't had to do that yet.
Yeah.
But the other side, I'm like, yes, if I'm going to help my own family, because it says my own, I think I can understand family science, which is what I studied.
Yeah.
I can understand psychology, which that was my major, and the other one was the minor. And then I can learn to apply nutrition and healthy living and that kind of thing. So in general, I was born with pretty healthy children. It's not like I already had somebody that was born sickly.
Right.
But I can't remember the last time I had to really take them to the doctor. We had to do the regular vaccines and everything to stay in line with what the public school requires and all that.
Sure.
But ear infections, all those kinds of things are so simple to take care of. With like herbs and stuff. And then when oils came along, I was so excited because it's like the herbs already in a package. I don't have to boil them and make poultices and teas.
Right.
But I grew up with that stuff. So it wasn't complicated for me to use mint, like from the garden, make a tea for stomach aches.
A lot of what, I like to talk about in Sendy Mom is just more is about like overcoming some of those fears and some of those doubts of yourself, of being able to heal yourself, because I think we really can. Our brains are so much more powerful than we give them credit for. Well, let me ask you a little bit, because I want to delve a little bit into your work with the UN and with promoting families and things like that. But let's take it back a little bit and go back to your home life and the type of family that you grew up in. You were one of 10 children too. Is that correct?
5. Yeah.
Nice big family. I know big families. I'm from a really big family too. And, I don't have as many children as I come from, but I understand big families. And so I kind of want to know how your parents raised you. I mean, Guatemala, to be able to, I think it's pretty Sendy to come and live in America. How did your parents raise you so that you felt confident enough to make some of these choices that you did?
I was pondering on that this morning because it wasn't necessarily specific behaviors like go do whatever. Like, some parents say, oh, you can do everything and whatever you set your mind to do. And it becomes just kind of like a thing to say.
Sure. Yeah.
But the way that what they did teach me was to follow the spirit, to follow inspiration, to follow a higher power. And I think when it came to choosing to come to college in the US, it was really a very difficult decision.
Yeah.
First of all, I am a huge patriot. The idea of leaving my country was it never occurred to me that I would go be the American dream. I didn't even know about it, didn't care about it. Not that I don't love America now,
right? Yeah.
But it wasn't like, oh my gosh, my life is so hard. I've got to go find ways to live in America. That wasn't my story at all.
Not your plan.
No. My parents, we were middle class. So for Guatemala, that's really stable. Here, we wouldn't look middle class. If you went to visit my house, you'd be like, what? Middle class? But we were, like I said, we went to private school.
Okay.
But we had an industry at home. My dad was a very gifted artisan.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yeah. And my mom was a school teacher. So we did really well in school. And in 6th grade, I got a scholarship for the best high school and junior high school in Guatemala.
Wow.
And some of my sisters didn't, but we all worked in our home factory.
Okay.
So we made furniture, we made earrings, we made all kinds of things out of bamboo. And so I used to be able to make you a desk or a chair, but I don't know if I could anymore. It's been a while.
That's amazing. I didn't know you did furniture and everything.
Yeah.
And where would you sell those things?
So mostly restaurants. So there would be some fancy high-end restaurants that would want unusual, beautiful looking things that are made out of like bamboo.
Okay.
Very tropical looking furniture, but high end.
So did your dad design these and then he just told you how to build them?
Yeah, we all
Okay.
worked together, like
Okay.
all 10 of us. And I think that's one of the things that I could see my dad's brave spirit, to just say, I don't want to be an employee to anyone. I'm going to create my own company. And this is a country that is not meant, it's not very easy to create your own company or be an employee or anything.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Yeah, the government, the economics out there are very controlled by government. So it's not.
So how did he do that? Do you even know?
He did that when I was born, like around the time I was born. And he just started to create lamps out of bamboo and coconut shells. And because he just has that very artistic
creative. Yeah,
very creative. So then we would just help in the factory all the time. So it became a really united family. Because if you really wanted, you had to pay your tuition and you wanted to go to prom or whatever.
Yeah,
we were together working to make sure that we had enough money to do all those things.
For everyone to do those things.
Yeah.
So he basically built his lamps and then he went over to a restaurant or a hotel and asked if they wanted to buy it. Yep.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. I feel like, sometimes we overcomplicate business so much and then we just don't start anything at all. Right. So if you have a talent, if you have something, or even if you aren't really sure, but you have a love or desire to do something, sometimes all it takes is just that initial step and that initial investment of time and maybe a little bit of money to be able to go and do that thing that you're really interested in. So you were encouraged in your family to be a part of a group.
Yeah.
And that it was a community effort and to support one another. And and I know you're a very service oriented person and you're very concerned with helping other people. And I don't doubt that comes from a lot of your upbringing and what you were kind of taught. Yeah. I mean, were you encouraged as a to help out quite a bit in the community as well?
Yeah. So my dad is pretty Sendy. I mean, if you had to say something about him, that's what he is. That is a moment in my life that I can remember. There are two moments that I'm going to tell you. So one of them related to what you're saying. When my grandmother died, they used to have lands and stuff in Betania and Jalapa. If anybody's from Guatemala, they'll understand what that is. She, of course, gave them to the children, and my dad sold his land to his brother because my dad was not a farmer. We lived in Guatemala City, and he was more business. And he took that money and invested it in this project to go to this little town in San Marcos, which is in the border of Mexico. And the reason that he did that is because during the time I was a teenager, there was a civil war. There's still kind of a lot of going on there, but there was a very specific civil war that started with a coup d'etat when I was in 7th grade. Like 2 blocks from my house, there was bombing, and that's why like fear.
The fear.
You learn at whatever old I was, 13, that you made it through a bombing 2 blocks away.
Wow.
And my parents were out of the country. So
you were there with all your siblings or your younger siblings
during that time there were a lot of killings. I believe they said about 70,000 men were killed. And this is going to get a little political, but Guatemala is still an elitist country. People that are Latinos like me, like mixed with European are still wanting to keep the control of the country. And the Mayans, which are about 60% of the inhabitants of the country, are still not necessarily given the opportunity.
Prejudice still.
Yeah, prejudice, but it's also that they don't speak Spanish. They are completely native. They have been preserved themselves by choice sometimes, and also trying to run away from being killed. So anyway, this civil war created so many widows. And because my dad, his father died when he was still in the womb. So he knew what it was like to have a mother who was a widow. And the difference is that my grandmother had a father and a mother. They had a strong family, and he went to live there, and they became a
His
natural
family.
doctor and all that stuff, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But in reality, most widows don't have that to lean on. So
Yeah.
we would go to Mayan towns, but this money, instead of using it for anything else, we would go as a family. He moved to the little border town, Malacatan is the name of it, and he would just teach people how to make stuff like he had learned.
That's amazing.
So he would say
Self-reliance, teaching self-reliance,
yeah,
basically.
yeah, yeah.
On his own.
And creativity. So they would say, they would know whatever town you go to, oh, there's a lot of coconuts here. So let me show you how you can make a sugar bowl, which is something that sells.
Okay.
Here's how you can make a lamp. You can make a hair clip. You can make, and so he rented a little place and set up a little area where he had little tiny tools that they can come and use. That's something that he did from the time I was a little. So that was the big project. But when I was little, he would just go to say, hey, let's go get in the car. We're going to go teach these people how to make this and how to make that, because he couldn't bear the idea that there was a widow with children that couldn't figure out how to feed the children.
I love that so much, because so many times we just try to give them money, right? Yeah. But to actually teach them a skill that is going to help them to continue, that's an investment. Yes. You know, in their futures. And I absolutely love that. Have you seen that in other areas? I know you've done a lot of humanitarian work. Like what other ways have you seen where people have been able to help other people? Or is it mostly with that creative kind of side? Or have there been things that you've been able to do to teach people to be more self-reliant?
So right now I have a couple of projects that I'm involved in. And one of them, is from one of our neighbors, goes with me too. You know, we go to Guatemala and we are teaching people different things. But one of the things that they need to learn, especially the women, is that they have a value, you know, that they are worthy. Yeah. Because like you said, it all starts in your mind.
Yes, absolutely.
And when you've been treated as a second-class citizen because of your race, because we go to native places,
race or places, gender or whatever.
Yeah. So they have the second citizen thing, second place citizen, because they are natives, and then they are women. So they're like third or fourth, whatever if there was ever another layer.
Yeah.
So they don't. Guatemala is not the most egalitarian country. Yeah. Still very machista. So for example, one of the things that Jeff and I went to do that was really fun is to help them learn how to even write their name. You know, there are some 50-year-old women that have never held a pencil and wrote a letter.
Wow.
Which is hard to imagine.
Yeah.
Right? We have so much education. We just assume everybody has it.
And how does that make these people feel? What do you notice when you help them to learn how to write their name?
Wow. It was such a moment for me watching. We did a little pilot. I was there present at the pilot. Jeff goes to it a lot more than I do because I have other projects, but they were sitting and we brought tablets, right? Because the project is more than just writing your name. But that was what I was able to witness. And these women were crying and laughing at the same time. It was the most incredible joy and the most incredible sadness because they didn't speak Spanish, right? So I couldn't speak to them, but we had translators. They spoke Kekchi. And that's a very ancient language that is not really written. Right. There are a couple of books on it, but that's about it. And anyway, so as we were trying to figure out how they were feeling through the translator, they were like, I'm special. I have a name. I can write my name. Yeah. Because usually you just do your thumbprint. Yeah. And also, why didn't I get to do this before?
Why did nobody teach me?
Yeah.
Wow. So do you go into are things improving in the schools as far as allowing girls to be in school, and is the younger generation learning? Do you feel like?
Yes. The challenge there, and I'm talking about a specific village, right? A specific group that we're dealing with. They don't trust white people, and I'm considered white in my country. Yeah. They don't trust the European very much because they have come and they have killed their men, right? Because the president himself ordered that killings and in the 80s. Terrible. Yeah, it's terrible. But they also don't want to have their children go into a society that is corrupt, like because they want to be very pure, like very almost Mennonite. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
They
I
want
see.
to just keep their traditions.
It's interesting because I feel like the youth today are kind of going that direction too. At least I've talked to many young adults who want to homestead. They want to be on a property and be separated from people. They want to grow their own food.
Yes.
And I think it's really interesting, that we build up the society that we think is just right, is just perfect, and we want to break away from it.
Yeah.
Right?
Because the pendulum thing. So maybe we've gone too far into this. So so what you were saying about education, yes, there are schools. The public schools are not the best. And in the places that we go to, they don't have running water, they don't have electricity. They don't have real homes. So therefore they don't really have schools. So the government does not support a school there because they're already not wanting to support the Mayan population. And that's a
So have you met anybody that has broken away from that?
A lot of people do.
Yeah. Can you tell me about any specifics? Can you think of any specific stories or any specific people that come to mind?
Yeah. So we met this man, I think it was called La Caoba. I think I was with Jeff. I go there a lot and he goes there a lot, but not always at the same time.
Okay.
And Jeff and Elise, I think, were with us. And this remote place, you literally drive 8 hours to get to the main little city and then drive a few hours in the mud in a 4-wheel drive truck if there's no rain to this little place. And it's called La Caoba. And it was this man who spoke English, Spanish, and Kekchi because he was from there. And we were like, whoa, can we hire you to be with us? Because usually you had to translate from English to Spanish, from Spanish to Kekchi, And, and he told us this really sad story. He said, I wanted to help my family. And like many immigrants, he left from his village to LA, I believe. Okay. He said it was sad, it was miserable because the community out there might be poor in our standards, but they're united and they know each other and they're together and they're small. And anyway,
it's your people, it's your community.
Right.
Yeah, we need
that. He said it was so depressing, it was so hard. And so many of the people that he was hanging out with, they were taking advantage of him because he didn't speak any of the languages, no Spanish or English. He obviously learned both because he could do it. But it was really sad to see the sacrifice that he did as a young man. Because a lot of the time, the men work so hard because they work the land. They get up at 3-4 in the morning, work all day, and make enough to about $5 a week.
Wow.
With other bigger farmers. Sometimes they go and help in the farm of somebody else, usually European. And anyway, so he thought, I don't know, I didn't ask him what happened to his father, but a lot of the times the fathers died by 45, 50. If you did have a father, because remember they killed 70,000 of his own ancestors, would have been his great-grandfather or his grandfather.
Yeah.
He was probably like 30. So he went as a very young man, probably to support his family because he didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And the funny thing to me, and this is going to get again a little political, most people don't want to leave their country. I know I didn't, right? Because mine just was different. I came to get a college education.
Yeah.
And I was planning to go back.
Yeah.
But they want to stay with their family. They want to stay with their mother and their sisters.
Yeah, sure. It's their support group.
Yeah. So he went back and he learned a lot.
Because he wanted to be able to help his family and make sure that they were not being taken advantage. He sacrificed to, being around these people that he loved to be able to go to America, to learn the language and to learn Spanish and English so that he could go back and help his family.
It's mostly men. They come and work so hard. Yeah. There are a lot of Quiche, which is a different tribe. We have 26 tribes and they don't speak the same language.
Wow.
And that's 60% of the country. So think about the difficulty in making the company, making a country progress with that kind of break.
Yeah.
So in Kansas, where my parents were, they served a few missions, LDS missions in Kansas.
Okay.
And they were huge communities that were working in La Nacional, the national, which is they kill cows. They process beef.
Okay.
And there would be, and people always say, oh, they're so weird. They all live 10 in a room.
Yeah.
But that's why they do it. Because they are 10 in a dumpy little room because every penny that they're making is going home to their mother, to their wife, to their children, to whoever it is that they need to support. And most of them, they don't want to be here.
Mm-hmm.
and they're to see it as a sacrifice.
Yeah.
And let's talk about a messy breakup of families, right?
Yeah.
So the projects we have in Guatemala, we have some in progress. I am mostly consulting for a lot of friends that have projects out there, because I still have one daughter left at home.
Yeah.
And I understand my most important job, and the only one that I'm really going to be having to talk to God about, is going to be whether or not I did everything I could for my children.
Yeah. Right.
So I have that daughter that has one more year. So I've been kind of dabbling, going and coming, but I haven't had my own project.
Yeah.
But we do have a project right now that we're going to start hopefully next year when she's all graduated. And it's going to be comprehensive. And is it okay if I tell you about it?
Yeah, no, I would love that. And I just wanted to clarify. So it's basically one area that you're kind of focused in on.
We've gone in several. Mayan.
But you started in one place, right? Or did you start out with like all of these different areas?
So I've gone, friends who want to start a project in Guatemala have come to consult with me.
Got it.
And I've gone with them.
Okay.
So I've done several areas that way.
Oh, I see. So you've just been kind of the consultant, and then, but there's a project that you would like to start on your own. Okay. So yes, tell me, how do you start a project like this, and tell me about your project that you're going to be doing.
So if all goes well, the funding is lined up, and we will be going to a tribe near a famous lake in Guatemala, because it's very accessible. And we'll have a 4-prong approach.
Okay.
And first we're going to start with nourishing the unborn, which is I think that's the clue.
Pregnant women.
I think the little girls.
Okay.
Because there are projects that try to feed the pregnant woman, but I don't know about you, but in 9 months, if you're already an undernourished person.
Absolutely. No, you're totally true.
Yeah, it's like you go to your body just to sustain you. But I'm hoping to start with 5-year-olds, and we already have tested all this. Okay. We've done little pilots through my friends that are out there.
Okay.
And we want to feed, of course, we're going to feed all the children, but really the focus is a 5-year-old girl that by 12 or 13, 14, they get pregnant. And imagine if you're that young, even as...
They do, yeah. 12,
natives,
14.
After 6th grade, if there is even a school, right? They're very, very young. Because if you think of a really, a country that's 300 years behind in development.
Yeah.
Pioneer women.
Yeah, 15, I guess that's true. Oh my goodness.
15, 16, that was even in England.
Yeah.
But think about that. It's the same idea, because they
only live to be 40 or 50 years old. Right. So they start earlier. Yeah.
Plus, in that mentality, the only purpose a woman is born is to have a child, right? Yeah. Which is definitely not something we believe in. Right. There's so much more to that. Exactly. But that's the simpleness of life.
Yes.
So anyway, so we want to feed them, and we already have an oatmeal that they like. We tried it, and it is full of protein, every amino acid the brain needs. So we get those girls' bodies to be strong and healthy.
And their brains as well.
But then the problem with the birth of a child in an undernourished body is that on the 3rd trimester, when your body is already exhausted, I know you're a mother, I'm a mother, absolutely. By then your body is depleted, unless you've done something really strong to keep it strong. And that's when the brain develops of the child. So if you don't have enough amino acids to build that baby's brain, then the baby is born with a quasi brain. So we do have that issue. About 75% of the Mayan population is born with learning disabilities, I guess is how we would qualify it here.
Okay.
Because of the lack of
nutrients.
Nutrients.
During that 3rd trimester.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So we have that, and it has a little quinoa, for example, that's like a magic pill.
Well, do they grow a lot of that down there?
No. That's why we have funding, because we need to bring it maybe from Bolivia and Peru. Okay. And we have talked to the people that produce it. So we have the access, but because, anyway, that's too many details to tell you in a little interview, but that's one thing. And then the other thing is a Global Health Institute that we already have I have a friend who does this all over in really remote areas. So we're going to design one. We're going to do a small pilot project by the lake, like I was mentioning. And we already have a partner there that is doing a lot of things with single moms and young children. Okay. So he's going to be our partner, and we're going to do the nutrition. We're going to do the health, and a lot of it is going to be natural health, actually, because they believe in that already. But then the other part is going to be a life university, because you were talking about the mind, right? We're talking about the 3-dimensional nature of us humans.
Mm-hmm.
And the Life University will have courses that are actually for your life.
Uh-huh.
Because yes, it's fun to learn how to write your name, and maybe in a few years you'll be able to read a book.
Right.
But when you're 50 and you gotta support your family, you gotta do so many things.
Yeah.
It's maybe not the best use of your time when it comes to education.
That's probably, that's true.
Yeah.
Although it is important, like what you were talking about, for your own self recognition and feeling good about yourself,
Right.
I think is really important.
Oh, yeah.
Before you can even start that, you need to believe that you can make your life better.
Yeah, and that you're important enough to write.
Absolutely.
Because that's like a status symbol.
Uh-huh.
So we will do that, but mostly the courses are going to be some that we already have designed and some that we have gleaned from somewhere else.
Okay.
But with our flag course is going to be the 6 strengths of family.
Okay.
So this is based on studies guided, study family science, right?
Uh-huh.
And this is amazing. It has data from like 25 countries from over 20 years to see what makes a family resilient and what all those people had in common. So, so we're going to reduce it to behavior.
Uh-huh.
And the 6 of them, we're going to create 4 behaviors that are the vital behaviors.
Uh-huh.
And if anybody that is listening actually cares about, how do you say, development?
Yes.
I would recommend reading the Influencer book.
Okay.
Influencer book is amazing. What they discovered is that if you can teach vital behaviors to people, then they're able to change their life. Right? Like we were talking earlier.
So tell me what some of the vital behaviors are.
So, for example, one of the things that they discovered is positive communication, right? Which we're doing right now.
Okay.
Respectful
and absolutely.
That's not necessarily true in families that are surviving. Because if you think about you're on survival mode your whole life, and your ancestors have been in that same situation.
And that you've been going through this, so it's being a disruptor, really, to learn how to break away from that.
Yeah.
Okay.
To be what we call in family science a transitional character.
Yeah.
So to change the way that your family was behaving all these years. But anyway, so there's 6 of them, and let's say communication, and another one is spirituality, which is not surprising.
Yeah.
The connection to a divine. So anyway, so that's the third part. We'll do Life University that has to do with life-changing
behaviors.
Courses.
So what do you see needs to be changed the most in Guatemala?
If women could understand that they're worth more than a childbearing machine.
Yeah.
It's a two-way road. It's a two-way road.
Okay.
We believe we're not worthy, so we allow people to mistreat us,
and I think that is a common theme in a lot of countries in the world, and not to say it, like even in America, it's it's just a common theme in humanity to treat somebody inferior or treat somebody as superior. And I would love if we could just get to a point where we all believe that we are the same.
Yes.
That is, we are all have value.
Yeah.
And if you've gone your whole life feeling like you were undervalued or that you were inferior to somebody else, then it causes you to repress yourself and not do anything, that not reach your full potential, basically.
Exactly.
And then when you've got this superiority complex, it has other problems too, because then you're denying yourself the relationships that you could have if you were to understand that we are all equal in value.
That's huge. And that's the thing about these women we're talking about, the idea that they are worthy. And I think it comes down to motivation when it comes to pride. What is your motivation to improve?
Yeah.
Is it to be better than somebody else, or is it to be better than yourself and give to the world? Right.
Right. Yeah.
As you can see that, okay, because I can read, now I can teach my children. Yeah. Because I can feed myself, I can help feed others. So it becomes, when it's altruistic, I think it changes.
Yes.
It changes everything. So, and then the fourth piece, if you think about the 4 corners of this project, is the idea of community. Because in reality, none of those things are worth much unless you are united with your community. Because when it comes to resiliency, and that's one of the 6 things in a family, the family study, that belonging to a community and being active in it.
Yeah.
Because in anything, you have to work together, not just your family, but so the idea is to create resilient families by doing the community, the knowledge, not necessarily just regular education, but it's knowledge that is necessary and basic to your specific needs. So it's going to be tailored to the group that we're teaching at that moment, right? And then, of course, the basic health. People die from diarrhea still.
Yeah.
That's something we forget.
Right.
They die from colds. They die from the 1800s illness that shouldn't have to die.
Should not happen. Yeah.
And then, of course, if you are born with a fully developed body and a fully developed brain, then you have a chance to change. But even if I had to only do one thing, I will do the feeding the unborn.
Feeding the children, yes.
Yeah, because then the new generation could change.
Have a chance.
Fate, yes, of the country. Otherwise, you keep going back in the same cycle.
Interesting. You've gone to the top of the river. Like so often, we hear this metaphor of a river going down, and we're at the end of the river trying to fix all these problems.
Yes.
But you got to go to the top of the river and fix that problem, and it will solve all. And that's the same thing that we talked about kind of at the beginning too.
Yeah.
Just if we can fix one thing that will fix so many other things, then let's go to the root of that problem.
Yeah. So it's fun that you said root, because the way I see it is similar to the river analogy, but there's a tree. And then what we're doing right now is worrying about the apple, the rotten apple that didn't quite make it. We have to pull out the worms and figure out how to make it so that it continues to be.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh, no, we should work on the roots, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But I'm working on the seed. How about that seed that created that root?
Yeah.
So let's go all the way to that seed. So that's called the Genesis Project.
Okay.
Which is the genesis of all poverty comes before you're even born.
Yeah.
So
got to give these people a chance to try, right?
Yeah, because they're hardworking.
They're
right. Actually brilliant. I mean, if you were to go and could communicate with them, once you can translate with them, they're tough, they're resilient, they're family centric, they're very Christian actually. They're very good people, they're very clean, and they, like I said, they work really hard. They're not poor because they are lazy,
right?
Which sometimes happens, but no, these people, like I said, get up really early. They live off the land, but they don't grow only corn mostly.
Interesting. And that's, well, and that can be solved with education as well. Like once they know, like, actually this would make me more money, or this would provide more for my community, then I'm going to grow this. But that they don't know what they don't know. They just do what their fathers and grandparents have done for years and years. So
especially if you never left your little teeny community.
Yeah.
Because there are no cars, right? They don't have cars.
Right.
Not everybody. I mean, I'm making an exaggeration. And I think some of the people that are listening that happen to be Mayan would be like, what are you talking about? They're amazing Mayans, amazing. I've had classmates in the city that had that full blood Mayan and were able to overcome.
So there's just, like we're all doing amazing things in our own little world, right?
In our little circle.
And the things that we love to do, and that's, I love talking to you because I love seeing how you are taking the knowledge, the passion that you had from the beginning for natural healing, for healing. You start with the healing, that's the seed, right? That was what drove you. And then look at this beautiful tree that you have grown from this seed of an idea of, I want to heal people. And I just love that. And that is really what being a Sendy Mom is all about.
Thank you. Thank you for the vote of confidence.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and that's what we're here for. It's like, I would love it if we would have like groups of women getting together and encouraging each other to send it, to just go and do these things because sometimes we feel like it is so difficult to take that first step. And we feel so much doubt, like these women that you're talking about that can't even write their name, and how much confidence that gives them to take that first step to learn how to write. And once you learn how to do a little bit, then you can do a little bit more. It doesn't mean that you have to do something that somebody else has done. You have to start with the seed. You have to understand, what is it that I am really passionate about?
What's your strength?
And sometimes that's the hardest part. I mean, you're lucky you did it when you were so young. I've had to take kind of a lifetime before I look back and say, oh yeah, that's what was important to me. That's why all of these, I talked to Ricky Riggs one time, and she was saying, it's like a dot to dot. And you're putting all these dots here and there, and you don't figure it out until the end what the picture actually makes.
And I've done that. I've done many, many years trying to figure it out.
Well, and maybe that's part of it too, that you kind of come back to like, this is a theme throughout my whole life. The healing of the human body.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's what brings joy. I think that was one of the questions that I remember reading about what brings me joy. Seeing somebody else progress.
Yeah.
And I think I love the idea of having the Trendy Mom clubs all over. I love that.
Yeah.
I'll help you on that.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. A lot of women, for some reason, we have been, I'm assuming it's been something that we have been acculturated into competing with each other.
Yes.
Oh, she's thinner, she's smarter, her house is cleaner, her children.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's such a symbol of pride.
Yeah.
And it keeps us from healing the world, because the world's going to be healed through the women.
Yes.
That's just, there's no question about it.
Yeah.
That's our role in the world.
That is our role. That's our mission. I believe it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So let me do some rapid fire questions for you. So.
Okay. I'm ready.
All right. So what has brought you joy in the last 24 hours?
So I just got back from this really cool conference about creating like a homeschooling college kind of thing. And I hadn't seen my husband for several days, and then he was before. So it was so fun to just spend a whole day with him.
I love it.
And we just we just cooked simple food. That it comes down to is the strength of our closest relationships.
Yes.
Knowing that, okay, this is so joyful.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Like all of my other guests, that's what they come down to. It's the people. It's those relationships. That's what brings you joy. So this is bringing me joy. Yes. What was the last TV show or documentary that you watched that you liked?
So I was laughing about that when I read that question because I don't usually watch TV. I'm a little too busy. But yesterday I said to him, okay, so now I just finished The North and South, which is a book that we read in book club in our neighborhood. Yeah. And I said, let's watch the movie. And it was actually a TV series for 4 episodes.
Okay.
And it was great. I just sat around with him. We watched this little show.
Yeah.
Completely binged it in one day.
Perfect.
And I'm like, okay, I can fit in with the binging. I get it.
Yes.
And it was such a cute story, again, about a man and a woman really understanding each other, even though they were so different from each other.
Right.
So because my husband and I are so completely different. It's amazing. We're married 37 years
I know.
almost.
And you're such a cute couple, though. I love it. You guys fit together really well, even though you are very different.
It's been a little work. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the truth. We have to work at it. I mean, marriage is not like we have these ideas, romanticized ideas of what marriage is going to be like. You're going to be in love all the time. No, you have to work at it. Like you're not going to be in love like all the time.
I like each other.
But you choose each other, right? And you choose each other every single day.
Yes. So, and it's constant forgiveness. And if there was something.
And finding something fun to do. Okay. What was the last really good book that you read?
So obviously just read that one, but also I just started a new one, and I think it's called Breaking the Cycle. I think that's what it's called. Amazing. All about what we're talking about. How do you break the cycles of family trends? And the author is from Dominican.
Okay.
And a sister of mine said, let's read this together. So I listened to it in the airport and and I thought, wow, this is really good, because she integrates all the ideas of what I've been studying for. It took 30 years to do my bachelor's, right? Because I did one class, applied it, one class in between babies. It was, I had to be very intentional about staying with the children and still keeping my mind going.
Yes.
But the way she has put it together, and I hope that's the name, is that she said you can't heal any relationship or any body, like a physical body, unless you do the body, the mind, and the spirit, which was so cool, because you don't hear that from a PhD anything.
Right.
It's not a popular thing to say.
Yeah.
But she's doing a good job with that book.
That's
so I can't
really
wait
cool.
to I don't even want to finish it now. I just want to savor it.
Well, exactly. There's been a few books like that because I listen to books too, because because we're busy, right?
Yeah.
But there's a couple I've had to just buy so I can go and really get into them, mark them up and everything. So, okay, I'm going to look that one up.
Yeah, mine is coming in the mail tomorrow. Because it's one thing to listen really fast, and then you go back, because she has exercises in every chapter.
Good. Name your favorite vacation spot. Oh, really?
Yes,
okay, we're going to have to talk later.
Do you want to go there? I know exactly which hotel and stuff.
Okay, great.
Amazing.
Okay, we're going to talk.
Somewhere between Latin and French food.
Oh, okay, perfect. That sounds really awesome to me. I would be happy with that. Either one.
Yes.
All right. What are your top 5 bucket list items? Do you have any?
Yes. So I want to get a PhD. I would love to do it in Oxford. Talk about a bucket list. It's only the top university of the whole world.
Yeah.
And it's only 2 Latinos that were there last time I was there.
Wow.
I went to do a course in it 1 summer. So that's my huge bucket list.
And that's in family science or psychology or what?
So I thought they had clinical. They don't have clinical psychology, but they do have international development.
Okay.
So when my daughter, poor kid, as soon as she's out, we'll do this and do that.
Yeah.
So I started, like I said, my master's this week.
Okay.
So in 2 years, I should be done. So in 2 years, hopefully, I'm working towards getting into that program, the international development from Oxford. And I like it because the thing about Oxford is that you meet amazing people from all over the world. Yeah. It's really, again, back to the relationships.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, but that's one big bucket list.
Yeah.
And I got to make it
go with you.
Yes. Because I wanted to do it earlier, but I was going to leave him or the girls.
All right. Name one thing you try to do every day. Really?
No, I work out every morning. I mean, I'm not back to my normal weight, but I've been able to maintain it because I thought if I kept 10 pounds per child, 10 children, that would be 100 extra pounds.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much average weight for my age or whatever, but I work out every morning. And I realized this year, I go to the gym all the time and I'm thinking, that summer and the spring are so nice and the fall. So I'm just doing my back for an hour every day.
I love it.
I go through the neighborhood. I go through those other neighborhoods. I go into the canal tail. I actually went up the canyon. Almost to, I went to the little, what do you call that? Garita. My Spanish words are.
I don't know Spanish. I need to learn. That's one of my bucket lists.
This is where you pay the $50 to get through.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
That's as far as I got one day. And I was like, yeah.
That's pretty good. Yeah, I love it. Okay. What do you think I should try next?
Learning Spanish.
There you go.
No, we should do the Trendy Mom Club. You asked me before and I didn't get a chance to answer because we really had such a deep conversation. But I do have groups of women. We do conferences with women. We're doing one in June in the Middle East, in Jordan. It's going to be all about motherhood and family and the reason what those two things are important to get the world to heal. Yeah. So I can find you all kinds of trendy moms all over the world.
I know.
I mean, not trendy.
Sendy moms.
Trendy too, but
trendy and Sendy. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm going to think about it. I'm glad you're not going this September because this would not have worked for me at all. So I'm glad I've got another, 9 months or something to think about it. So, all right. Well, thank you so much for being with me. And I'm glad that Debora was able to come and talk with me. She's a neighbor. She's a great friend. She's beautiful. And she does so many Sendy things and just love her to death. So thanks for being here.
It's fun. Thank you so much.